Today on For the Record,
I think that Heather should have to face us. I would like to face her.
Their mother was treated by a killer nurse.
I begged anybody to help me, and all my friends and family, so many people.
Today, the exclusive videos breaking down what happened to their mother.
I told them every time I wanted to live.
Did you? Mm-hmm. We had nowhere to turn.
The change these daughters now want to see.
I want better protection for elderly people and for helpless people and for mentally ill people.
And the scars this has left on their loved ones as well.
It completely destroyed my entire family.
Plus, the letter I received from Heather Presti when I asked for her response from behind bars. For the Record starts now. Welcome to For the Record. I'm Michelle Wright. This morning I speak with two women who say their mother was treated in a local nursing home by a serial killer. Becky Molnar and Rhonda Netzel say and have presented paperwork to me that shows their mother was treated by Heather Presti. Presti has pleaded guilty to killing at least 3 nursing home patients and trying to kill more than a dozen others at nursing homes across Pennsylvania. Investigators said her method was delivering lethal doses of insulin. Becky and Rhonda's mother was not one of the victims that Presti pleaded guilty to trying to kill, but today these daughters tell me Presti treated their mother at Platinum Ridge Center for Rehabilitation and Healing in Brackenridge in 2019 and early 2020, and that Presti took their mother off of a medication they feel she needed. Pittsburgh's Action News 4's reporting in 2023 detailed Presti's time working at Platinum Ridge. And now on For the Record, we hear the story of these two daughters, what they say Heather Presti did, and what they're asking to happen now. And joining me now are Becky and Rhonda, here to talk about their mother, Barbara, who passed away in 2020. And this is going to be a very difficult conversation, I know. So I appreciate you both coming in to talk about what happened. Heather Presti is somebody that we followed very closely, her court case. She is in jail now for life with no chance of parole, admitted to killing 3 people in nursing homes, attempted to kill 17 or more others. And you say that your mother was possibly one of her first victims. Absolutely. Why do you say that? We'll start with you.
Well, because she took my mom off of her risperidone, and she had her sign a post to say that she wanted no more treatments, no more dialysis. This is before I knew what Heather was doing. I told her, be very vigilant about her medication, because if she doesn't take it, she will rip her shunt out and she will refuse dialysis. I didn't realize what Heather was doing at that time, and she did take my mom off her risperidone, which then caused my mom to refuse it and say that she was a prophet. My mom had horrible schizophrenia. She was very mentally unstable without her medicine.
And so you knew that, and that's why you wanted her to stay on her medicine.
Yes.
Heather suggested that she sign this POLST, which is basically a living will.
Yes.
And you were against her signing that.
Yes.
Heather wanted to hurt people. We didn't know that.
You were suspicious from the very beginning.
Yes.
And you have lots of legal documents, talking to an attorney.
The Department of Health, the Department of Aging. I called everybody. And I begged everybody for help.
How frustrating was that for you as a family member, not being able to be heard?
I was up 24 hours a day pretty much, and I was constantly looming over my mom because I was so afraid of what was going on.
And you took videos of your mom.
Yes.
We're going to show some of those. If you could pull some up on your phone and maybe talk us through what you were seeing and what she was saying back to you.
So do you still not want dialysis? Do you realize what happens if you don't get it? What?
Nothing.
You're going to die if you don't get it, Mom.
I'm not.
Why do you say that?
Because that's over. I helped God.
You're going to die if you don't get dialysis, Mom. Do you realize that?
I'm not going to die.
Why not?
Because I've always been dead. He remotes my body.
God doesn't talk to people directly, Mom.
He does to a prophet.
So explain what that is before we go on to the next one. What was going on there in that
That
video?
was my mom off of her risperidone and thinking that she didn't need dialysis.
She thought that she was
A prophet of God.
A prophet. I mean, when she was having the bad schizophrenia through life, she always thought that she was working for God, that she was a prophet, that she could do things that it was crazy. I mean, when we were young, we would just, I don't know how we lived with it, really.
either.
Because it was so strange. I mean, our friends thought, wow, what a strange family. We couldn't really have friends over. And
She could be violent or
Yeah,
she could
she
be
could be.
religious. It was a really like Sybil.
yeah.
Very difficult for the family.
Extremely.
And here you're videoing her, and you can clearly see that she's very confused about what the dialysis would do or not do. That was your brother talking to
Yeah.
her?
Yeah.
How do you feel about watching that now?
You know,
Makes me sick.
I hate to watch those videos, but yet, once in a while, I have to because it's the only way I can hear her voice. I just want to hear her voice again. I just want her back. And nobody can give her back to me. I can't, and I can't even hate Heather anymore. I hated her in the beginning, but I can't. She's got to be sick, a sick person, and maybe she couldn't help.
We wanted my mom to die on her own terms.
Yeah.
Not by being, that's why I told them, give her 6 days to get this medicine back in her.
And when they
And
talk
if
to
she
me
wants to
about
die, that's her
hospice,
choice.
I would say no hospice yet, because I thought that a person should die in their own time, in their own way, not be induced with or injected with morphine or die in a state where you're not with your family. They wouldn't let us in. They wouldn't let
Especially-
us hold her hand. She should have died with me. I should have been holding her when she died.
We couldn't
and I
have
wasn't
her at
allowed
home.
in.
Because of COVID?
Yeah.
Because of COVID. That's whenever they took their final swoop in on her because, again, we were wasting resources.
Show us the second video.
Second video is after I got emergency custody of her.
When her risperidone kicks in within 5 days, she tells me the same thing.
So that's basically Becky saying, put her on her meds for 5 days.
Right, let's see, let her decide.
Yeah, let her decide.
She told me she'd do it. Mom, didn't you tell me you would do it one more time?
That's what you all agreed.
And finally, is there a third video where
There's
she
a
says
third
she wants to
video,
live?
and this is after she was back on her risperidone, back to normal.
I told him every time I wanted to live.
Did you?
So that's her saying, well, explain that. What are we hearing there?
Well, that's her being normal, and she's basically saying that she told them every time that she wanted to live. But when she was off of her medicine, she didn't say that. So, that's...
Now, when Heather Presti was sentenced, your mother's case was not part of what put her behind bars. How do you feel about that?
I'm really upset about that because, again, the Attorney General's secretary told me that she's where she needs to be. So basically, because she got life and 300 some years, whatever, that she's where she needs to be. No, my mom's going to be recognized. I want my mom recognized as one of her first, especially after how many lawyers, how many people I reached out to. I begged anybody to help me. And all my friends and family, so many people know and saw what I was going through. And they were giving me suggestions on who to call. Everybody I called, didn't matter.
Rhonda, how do you feel about not being part of what put her behind bars?
I wanted to be able to go to a hearing, and I wanted to ask her why she would do that to someone who would give you the shirt off her
She
back.
would've.
She would have done anything for she was so kind and so loving. There wasn't a person in the world that didn't meet her and love her. She was like an angel.
She was.
And I think that Heather should have to face us. I would like to face her. I would like to ask her, why did you do this to her? Why did you pick her?
Barbara Molnar died in 2020 at the age of 83, about 2 months after she was out of the care of Heather Presti. And still ahead on For the Record,
Would have saved a lot of lives. It would have saved a lot
I
of
think my
lives.
mom would have lived a lot longer.
Yes.
These sisters' message to everyone after losing their mother. Welcome back to For the Record. As I speak more now with the two sisters who say their mother was treated by serial killer nurse Heather Presty at a Pittsburgh area nursing home, I asked them what they would like to see changed now. I also asked their thoughts on the more recent case of alleged imposter nurse Shannon Womack, who state police believe used multiple false names to work at healthcare facilities throughout Pennsylvania and other states. As of the taping of this episode, Womack has pleaded not guilty to several charges, including endangering the welfare of care and identity theft. Take a look at what these sisters had to say. What do you want the state to do to protect other families?
I would like to see a law made. I would like to see a law, and I would like to see it called Barbara's Law, so that this didn't happen to anybody else, so that they were more vigilant, watching the nursing homes, making sure that they were inspected properly, making sure they're being fed nutritious, good food, making sure that the last days of their lives were happy ones.
What is your message to other families?
Stay with your parents. Keep them at home if you can.
Yes.
If there's any way to
We
keep
didn't
them at
have that
home.
option. But if anybody does, don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
Because I saw it after the fact, like as it was progressing. But in the beginning, I really thought she was a good woman.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share before I let you go?
Only the message to people to please, if you love your parents, if you love your husband or your wife or whoever might be, might need a nursing home or need help, to make sure it's the right help in the right place, and just watch, just be aware. That's the message, is be aware.
Your mom passed away in 2020, but even recently, within the last few weeks, another woman pretending to be a nurse,
Yes.
allegedly, according to police, was arrested and charged with stealing medication out of rooms, never trained to be a nurse. Did that bring back a lot of angst for your family?
Of course it did.
And so if she's stealing medication, somebody's doing without their medication.
You know, speaking of that, the day that Heather was on the news, I actually couldn't even believe it, because I was just sitting there and I was watching my phone, and then I heard the name and my head popped up and I looked and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe I was in 2023, I think it was, after everything that I went through, and like the dust was starting to settle. You know what I mean? You just come to terms with losing your mom, and I saw that. I couldn't believe it. The shock of my life. And I said, wait a minute, and I rewound that. And there it was.
She was your mom's
there
nurse.
It was. It was my mom's nurse, the one who I complained about all that time, that nobody would listen.
How do you think things would be different if they had listened to you back in 2020?
Would have saved a lot of lives. It would have saved a lot of lives.
I think my mom would have lived a lot longer.
Yes, that too.
She was tough.
For the Record has reached out to Platinum Ridge Nursing Home for response to this interview. They say they could not comment on the matter, but noted that the nursing home is under different ownership and management now than when Presty was working there. We'll bring you any updates in Pittsburgh's Action News 4 and online at WTAE.com as they come in. And coming up in a little more than 2 minutes, the letter I received from Heather Presty when I asked the serial killer nurse to sit down for an interview with For the Record. Welcome back to For the Record. After interviewing Becky Molnar and Rhonda Netzel about their mother, who was once in the care of serial killer nurse Heather Presdy, I reached out to Presdy, who is currently being held at the State Correctional Institution in Muncie, Lycoming County. I asked Presdy for an opportunity for a sit-down interview. However, she declined. She wrote to me, quote, "Dear Michelle, thank you, but I do not wish to speak of my case to open any wounds for the families or my family's sake. Thank you." And keep it here. We have a look at something that you didn't see during last week's show, coming up right after the break. Welcome back to For the Record. As we wrap up this episode, I wanted to bring you something you didn't see during last week's show, part of which focused on the group Life-Changing Service Dogs for Veterans. During our interview, the president of that organization, Bill Jeffcoat, shared his stories as a canine handler during Vietnam and the bond he developed with his dog, Fraulein, during that time. Listen to his story.
I truly didn't know what a dog was going to do for me.
We introduced you to Bill Jeffcoat during a recent episode of For the Record. He's the president of Life-Changing Service Dogs for Veterans, an organization that helps provide service dogs to veterans in need. In interviewing Jeffcoat, I learned of his own story as a canine handler in Vietnam and the bond he had with his dog during that time, Fraulein.
You know, this dog was with me 24/7. When it was time for us to have a drink, I would take my helmet off, pour water into the helmet, and let Fraulein drink first. And what was left over was for me. You know, there were evenings that you laid in a jungle looking up at the stars, wondering, you know, what am I doing here? And here comes this four-legged warrior, and she puts her head on my chest.
Jeffcoat saying he even fought to take the German Shepherd back home with him.
Vietnam was a crazy situation. We were overrun 2 or 3 different times. And probably the saddest part was that I had finished my first tour in Vietnam and extended for a second tour. And 4 months later, they started to de-escalate, and I was told that they were going to send me back to the world. So I went into command, and I offered them $5,000 to bring Fraulein home with me. That request was denied.
And what happened next was truly heartbreaking.
The day before I left Vietnam, one of the other handlers came and said the vet wanted to see Fraulein. So I went down to Kennel, got Fraulein, went into the vets, and they told me they were going to put her down.
Why?
So they gave me 5 minutes alone, came in, euthanized her, and she died in my arms.
But he tells me the memories of that dog who was by his side are still alive today.
I tell everybody I had a girlfriend in Vietnam, but she had 4 legs, and her name was Fraulein, 4X10. And whether we were walking point on patrol, doing search and destroys, setting ambushes, running 3-man killer teams, gathering intel with recon, or just walking the perimeter, Fraulein was my lifeline. And I walked this earth because of a dog.
You can learn more about Bill Jeffcoat Life-Changing Service Dogs for Veterans and the other organization featured in last week's show at the Forgotten Flag Foundation by rewatching that episode now. In fact, you can watch any episode of For the Record with the very local app on your smartphone, tablet, or smart TV. And just a quick reminder, if you have a topic you'd like us to address, send us an email to news@wtae.com. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Have a good week.